Still juggling your schedule like a circus act? Let's simplify things with Google Calendar. Hi, I'm Mark. Welcome to Skill Sprints, your go-to for digital dexterity. Today's focus is Google Calendar, your future best friend for managing time like a pro. Let's jump into the calendar magic. In order to use Google Calendar, you have to be logged into your Google account. Then you can navigate there by going to calendar.google.com. And the Google Calendar will open, and you'll see the Google Calendar interface. By default, it shows an entire week. Right now I don't have any appointments because this is a blank calendar, but I can change the display to display a single day, a week, an entire month, an entire year, a schedule, which simply shows events and when they occur, as well as a 4-day display, which happens to be my favorite. The 4-day display is my default because it gives me just enough information about what's going on now and what's going on in the next couple of days. In addition, you notice that Wednesday, February 7th, is the active day. That's the day we're on when I'm recording this. You can see that by the filled-in circle both on the 4-day calendar and on the mini month calendar on the left. I can navigate through either calendar by clicking the brackets, going forward and backward. If I ever quickly need to get back to today, I simply click the Today button. And now we're back to 2 p.m. on Wednesday the 7th. I have a couple of calendars active. My calendar, a birthday calendar, and my tasks from Google Tasks. I have another video about Google Tasks if you're interested. I also have a calendar for holidays in the United States, which is provided by Google. Let's go ahead and create an event for our calendar. There's a couple of different ways I can do it. I can either click the Create button and choose Event, or I can click on the date and time that I want to schedule the event. Let's schedule an event for 7:30 to 8:30 tomorrow morning. So I'll click at approximately 7:30, and then our event dialog box came up. So I'm going to call this Breakfast with Tim and Mary. If that sounds made up, it's because it is. And now I can configure the event. For example, if I need to change the date and time because I didn't click accurately, I can do so here. For all-day events, for example, conferences or birthdays, I simply click all day and the time disappears. Notice the event appears on top of the calendar under Thursday the 8th. I can configure repeating events. I can add guests to the event. I can set up a Google meeting for the event if I need to. And I can add a location. This event has a location, so let's add one. This is going to be at the Blue Sky Diner. There it is, on Ferry Boulevard in Stratford. By the way, this data comes from Google Maps, so if what you're looking for is listed in Google Maps, you'll find it here. I can also color code my events. I can either color code them by color, make that event yellow for example, or I can add a label associated with the color. Let's make yellow personal. And now any personal event will be yellow. We can create other labels later for other types of events. One of the neat things about Google Calendar is if you set up your labels correctly, it'll track how much time you spend in each category. For example, I have a special meetings label, and any meeting gets labeled with that color. At the end of each week, Google Calendar tabulates how much time I've spent in meetings, which is always too much. This is important. I can set this time for busy or free. Busy time means the time is essentially blocked off. Free time I can schedule during this time. As an example, I might schedule my time on the train as free because I can also take phone calls or schedule other work during that time. I can choose whether or not this particular event is visible to others. If I make the event public, then anyone who has access to my calendar can see the event and the event details. I can make the event private, in which case they'll just see an indicator that the time is blocked, but the event is private. This will be a public event. I can also set up notifications. If I need a reminder before the event, I can set that up. Let's set up a 15-minute reminder, and then I can add additional notifications if I want to. I can even customize the notifications to receive it by email 30 minutes before the event. Now I'll get a reminder in my Gmail account 30 minutes before, and then get a reminder 15 minutes before as an alert. I've completed this event, so I can save it on the calendar. As I mentioned, we also can create an event from the Create button. Let's go ahead and create an event, and let's create one more. Meeting with Thompson Industries. And this will be on Friday at 9 a.m. And the meeting will last 2 hours, so it'll be till 11 a.m. The event does not repeat. I don't need to add any guests. I don't need Google Meet conferencing. And the location is going to be at my office, so I'm not going to fill anything out here. I may want to add a description to the event. I can add a description and even take meeting notes in this dialog box. Let's create a category for meetings. Click the plus sign here to add a label. Let's choose the color red. And I placed that item on my calendar, but I didn't actually set the category. So to open an event on my calendar, I just double click, and now I can set the appropriate label. And save, and that appears as red. And notice here under Time Insights, it's showing how much I have scheduled for personal and meetings. So I'm already tracking exactly how much time I'm using in each category. There are other categories of events that I can use. For example, I like to schedule focus time. Focus time is time I schedule specifically to work on a project. It's essentially do not disturb time. So let's set the focus time for Google Calendar course project. And I'm going to set that for tomorrow. And I'm going to set that all afternoon. So from 12:30 till 5 p.m. I can add a description and add a label if I need to. Let's create another label category, and we'll call this Deep Work. And then I'll set the label. I do want this time marked as busy. It doesn't need to be private. I don't need a reminder, so I'll remove the notification and save. And you'll notice this focus time looks like anything else on the calendar, except that it has a small set of headphones as an icon before the title of the event. I can also create out of office time. Let's say I'm going to be on vacation on Monday. I simply set the date. I don't need to set any time, so it's all day. Out of office, and I'm just going to change that to vacation. Any meetings will be declined, and this is public. It's going to warn me that any meetings that someone requests will be declined. We'll click Save and Decline, and notice the 12th is marked for vacation. Let's return to today. I also can set a working location. With hybrid work becoming more prevalent, it's often useful to put on your calendar whether you're going to be in the office, working from home, or some remote location. So let's say I want to set this up for next week. We'll set this for Tuesday the 13th, and my working location is going to be CoLab, the co-working space. And notice I have the option of setting home or office, or other locations. We'll set another location. I'm going to set CoLab Co-working, and I'm going to click Add. And you'll see on the 13th a small tab that shows my working location. Let's set my working location for Wednesday as well. A shortcut is to just click on the very top of the calendar on the date, choose Add Location, and let's choose Office. And it gives me the option to set the working location for just the day I've selected or every Wednesday. We're going to go with just this date. Let's set one more working location. On Thursday, we're going to work from home. One of the reasons to use Google Calendar is the set of collaboration tools. For example, I can invite others to meetings who are within my Gmail. Let's try it. Let's go back to today, and let's say for this meeting with Thompson Industries, I want to invite a coworker. So to invite the coworker, I'm going to go into the guest section, and I'm going to invite Wendy. She's in my address book, so that appears. Notice I'm prompted to manage the meeting call settings. I'm just going to click Got It. That only happens the first time. I actually don't need the Google Meet, so I'm going to remove it. This is an in-person meeting. And you'll notice here under the guest section, I have myself as the organizer, and then Wendy. Now, since Wendy hasn't indicated whether or not she's going to show up, it doesn't indicate whether she'll be attending or not. She's in a waiting status. I can also mark her as optional, so she knows she can attend this meeting, but she doesn't have to. We're going to make it compulsory that she attend. If Wendy is inside my Google domain, I can also click Suggested Times, which will look on her calendar and suggest times that we're both free for the meeting. But this meeting is already set. So when I click Save, she'll be invited to the meeting via email, and then she can determine whether or not she's going to accept the invitation. Now let's say I get my haircut the first Saturday of every month. So Saturday, March 2nd is the first Saturday of the month, and let's say I get my haircut at 10:30. I'll click on 10:30. We can shorten that to 10:30 to 11. It doesn't take that long for me to get my haircut. Let's add the title. And notice here it says, does not repeat. I'm going to click the down arrow, and that's going to give me the repeat options. I can repeat this daily, weekly on Saturday, which is a lot for someone who barely has hair, or monthly on the first Saturday, annually on March 2nd, every weekday, or I can customize the options. Let's go with monthly on the first Saturday. Let's set this to personal, and let's save. And now, if I were to look on the first Saturday of April, for example, there's my haircut appointment. And of course, that occurs through the first Saturday of each month. There we are on the first Saturday of May. I have a lot of repeating events, so I find this repeat feature extremely useful for recurring meetings and other things that happen on a regular schedule in my life. Down here at the left are settings where we can import other calendars. For example, I can subscribe to a calendar, and I can subscribe to a calendar that's available in my Google domain, create an entirely new calendar that we can share. I can browse calendars of interest. For example, if I wanted to put religious holidays on my calendar, or even sports information, it's available. If I want to share my calendar, I can click the three dots next to my name under My Calendars and choose Settings and Sharing. Down here, I can add people who I want to be able to access my calendar. For example, Wendy again. When I click Send, she'll get an invitation to the calendar. I can also set the level of permissions that she has. She can see only free busy, see the event details, that's public events, make changes to events, or make changes in managed sharing on my calendar. One of the things I mentioned earlier was the integration of Google Calendar. Here I am in Gmail. From Gmail, I can create calendar events. So I sent myself this email called TikTok Issues. Let's say I wanted to set up a meeting about it. If I click the three dots up at the top of the email and then choose Create Event, it takes us to Google Calendar and I can create an event around this email. It adds as a guest the source of the email, which in this case was my other email address, marketframeworktv.com. I can add guests. For example, let's add Vaughn. And it also sets up a Google meeting. So here we've already got a Google Meet URL, which will be sent to the guests for the meeting. If I want to see all of the Google Meet information, I can click the down arrow, and you can see the meeting ID, call-in phone numbers, etc. I travel pretty frequently, and sometimes I'll have events in different time zones, or even events that start in one time zone and end in another. Let's see how we deal with that situation in the calendar. Let's go back to today, and let's say on Saturday I'm flying to Chicago at 6 a.m. Chicago's in a different time zone. So if I put the flight on my calendar, I've got to account for different time zones in the actual calendar. So I'm going to click time zone down here, and then time zone again. This has separate time zones for the start and end. So we start in Eastern time, but we end on Central time. Click OK. And there it has now. We're starting at Saturday, February 10th at 6 a.m., ending at 9 a.m., but notice the GMT or time zone is different. And let's say I had an event while I'm in Chicago. That's at 12 o'clock Chicago time. So I'll put it here at 12 on my calendar. Lunch with Josh. This will be personal. We've got to deal with that time zone again. So I'll click here, click on time zone. This time, it doesn't start and end in different time zones, but it is in a separate time zone, Central Chicago. Click OK. And now when I save the event, notice it's listed at 1 to 2 p.m. because I'm currently in the Eastern time zone, so it's showing the event in the time zone I'm in. If I were to travel to the Central time zone, then the calendar would be displaying Central time zone and the time would be 12 Central. Calendars are only useful if they're available on the go, which is why Google Calendar has both an iPhone app and an Android app you can install. These apps are fully featured and everything I've shown you is available within the mobile app. I'd recommend that be one of the first apps you install on a new mobile device. Congratulations, you've just leveled up your scheduling skills with Google Calendar. Ready to tackle more digital challenges? Subscribe, share, and like this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.